welcome back to another episode of the Kickback. I know last time I said I wasn't going to mention the episode number anymore because I kept forgetting. This is definitely episode 15 because I just checked the last episode how it's doing. We're already making slow improvements, but less of that. We'll get on to the guest that we have with you here today. I'm really excited for this one because it's somebody who hasn't hasn't used FM as the platform, or the FM game streaming as the platform for why they're on today. It's using FM in terms of comedy, which is something that, to be honest, before I came across you, I didn't know that was possible because it's just spreadsheets. So we'll get into how you work through that. But nonetheless, we have with us today Tony Jameson. Tony, mate, how's it going, man? How are you today?
Yeah, I'm very well, man. I'm very well. I'm very excited for being here. Like, thank you for getting me on. It's been fun. It's been fun. Just sort of like, obviously we planned this a couple of weeks ago or something. And
Yeah,
it's been like, yeah, let's go on it. It's like, okay, cool. I'm excited for this. As I said to you before we recorded, I've watched the last few, so yeah, I'm happy to get on and chat, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, nah. I already see the football shirts in the background. I see a Petersburg shirt. Your head's in the way of one. I can't tell what that. It's Sunderland. Okay.
So yeah, so there's stories with each of these, right? Like you say, talk about just FMing, right? So Peterborough is that was our FM21 save. That was,
Okay.
we were 10 seasons at Peterborough. 45 quid for that, just to hang in the background. This is how dedicated we take it, right? The Sunderland shirt, right? The Sunderland shirt was the start of the save, right? The save was meant to be like my first streaming save was Sunderland Till I Cry, I called it.
Yeah.
And I got sacked after 6 months. And that shirt turned up the day I got sacked.
Really?
So I showed the stream, went, and it's a season before, so I'm not overly fussed with like 20 quid or whatever.
Yeah.
But I said in the chat, I was like, oh, like look what's turned up in the mail today, and then like about an hour later, sacked on stream.
Jeez.
I was like, brutal.
Just in time. Did you have it on, or did you put it in the background?
Oh no, it's like a small men's. There's no way that's fitting me. Literally, I just went through classic football shirts. I was like, I'll get one ordered up. Because again, the plan being not to spend a lot of money for football shirts. The Peterborough one, I thought, you know what, at the end of it, we'll treat ourselves because we like I say, we did 10 years with them. We've put them out of League One. We kept them out of relegation a couple of times. We won a couple of Papa John's trophies, won the League One, won the Championship. So I was like, that it made sense to buy that. The other one, there's another interesting one. Actually, this is it's not hanging up at this point, but this one used to hang proudly.
Ooh.
That is Azerbaijan.
The nation's home kit.
The nation, yeah.
I like that.
That. So what happened? So we left Peterborough, and we tend not, we joke about it on the stream that we didn't leave Peterborough at all. We left Peterborough for an ill-fated trip to Scotland for a couple of seasons.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was about to get sacked from one of those jobs that we don't speak about, I jumped before I was pushed, and I was like, right, I'm going to resign. And I built it up. It was perfect. It was a proper like heel turn moment on stream, right? Like it was all going badly, and like everyone's going, he's going to get sacked. And I was like, right, fine. Looked at the fixture list. We had Celtic. Middle of December, and I was like, I'm not gonna get Celtic and they get sacked at Christmas. I'm like, nah. I said, look, I'll tell you what, we're a bad run of form. We're gonna save it, right? We'll raid onto someone else. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll do it sacked live on stream when we'll get loads of people in. And so we raided in, and like everyone's going off it. They're like, you promised us a second, blah 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 blah. Like, oh, he's robbed us of the second, and we raided into big man on campus, and you'll know yourself, like and he just laughs at anything. So I'm like sort of typing away in the chat going, I've completely leved everyone down the garden path here. They're not getting a second today. And he's laughing his back off, right? And so the next day, true to my word, we're logged on. And before, that sort of start screen you get for your stream,
yeah,
the chat was just like so rowdy. There's so many people there going, he's going to get sacked, he's going to get sacked, he's going to get sacked, it's going to be brilliant. And so I went on and I held it. I've got like this little holding screen where I'll talk for a bit. And it's got like my sort of camera.
Yeah.
My chat's going down the side. And I spent 10 minutes at the start talking, and no one's questioning the fact that there's 10 minutes of talking. Like normally, like a couple of minutes and straight in. 10 minutes, I'm going right. Things have gone badly. We need to think about something to do. And you know what? You're here. Let's do it. Right. This is what you're here for. And as soon as I pressed sort of the next screen to change scenes to see what was happening, I just resigned and went, "You're not getting a second. Don't be so stupid." And it was just like, "What the hell?" So I built
Literally.
it up, and they're going off it, like they're chatting, going off it, going, "You've cost us you've robbed us of 2 seconds." And I was just like, "What?" Like, I thought I'd walk before I was pushed. And then the very next day, we clicked continue. The very next day, Azerbaijan approached us, so we became Azerbaijan national team manager. And one of the lads in the chat was going like, half an hour later, he's like on the internet. He's like, "Oh, you can get an Azerbaijan shirt for 30 quid." I was like, "Right, well, I'll tell you what. If we get 30 quid's worth of subs tonight, I'll buy an Azerbaijan shirt just because of how we've behaved."
Yeah.
And the lad who spotted it, he gifted 30 quid's worth of subs there. And then
Really?
he went, "Right there, do it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So we bought it and it turned up a couple of days later.
How did the Azerbaijani adventure go?
We got to the playoffs of the Euros, so
Ooh, yeah.
we nearly made it. And then we got headhunted by Holland. So, which is crazy. Got to the World Cup quarterfinals with them, beating Azerbaijan all the way through as well. So that was a tricky one. And then the other shirt there,
Yeah.
that's the FC United, the Scottish suicide charity.
Oh yeah.
They put them out, so a load of celebrities got them this year.
And you're a celebrity, so
No, I had to pay for that as well. That's 30 quid. Mates of mine are wearing them, going, "Oh, look at this, isn't I've been all dead noble and that," and going, "Yeah, it's cost me 30 quid to be noble. You got yours for free." So so that's hanging in the back of my stream all year this year. So rather than buying another shirt, I thought that's a nice one. Get a charity shirt just to hang up there. So yeah, that's the background. That's what we got. So
see, I do have Icebreaker on the sort of guide list. We're still gonna do it because it's new. So I feel like I need to keep it consistent so you still get it. And it's only a small one. Essentially, the question is, you're in, say, year 10, year 9. You just finished school. You have today's equivalent of a pound in your pocket. However much that would have been, when you were back.
It would have still been a pound. It would have still been a pound. I could have got more for it back in my day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A pound in, you know what costs a quid. What would have costed, maybe a bit less back in the day. I did this with Lelujo, and he said he just bought the whole shop. So
Yeah,
I have to think about how I would it.
Bought my parents' street.
Yeah, literally, I paid off the mortgage.
Yeah.
But you're going into the shop. What snack or drink are you getting?
I'm getting because if we're gonna say it's a pound, right? I'm gonna say it's back in my day, right? We're getting a tin of Iron Brew, right, to drink,
Great.
obviously, and then we're doing a mix up. So we're gonna get like probably 50p mix up, I reckon. Like get like loads of different sweets in there. So I'm definitely getting an Astro Belt.
Oh yeah, you gotta get an Astro Belt.
I'm getting some little sort of bonbons as well. I like what did I like? I like the they used to be like sort of sour cherries. Used to get but they were like hard boiled sweets.
Yeah,
these like sort of sour ones. We used to get them. They were pretty cool. I'm not that asked about bubble gum, so I probably wouldn't bother with that.
Yeah, I've been there.
But there'd absolutely be a couple of massive cola bottles in there as well. And I don't drink Coke at all. But I will kill anybody for jellies. Like I will literally, if it was between me and the last person alive who's surviving, I'm surviving. Like I'm taking out Brock Lesnar for Haribo. Like this is like, you know what I mean?
Nah, I respect that. I can't remember the last time I had a mix. I think it was generally like a cinema thing, like the local shop, because they just really overprice it. I think usually when I'd go to the cinema, and I agree, cola bottles, belts, and
used to have little sherbet Astros.
Yeah,
they used to like little spaceships, sherbet spaceships. Used to have them.
Oh,
as well.
The ones you just put on your tongue and they just dissolve. Yeah. They're good. When I first had one, I was like, "This tastes like nothing," and then it broke through, and I was like, "Shit."
Did you have Wham bars?
Oh, well? I loved Wham. It was we always had the choice between Wham and Toxic Waste. That was the two. I'd alternate it, but ultimately, my go-to was the Wham bar. But
popping candy, man, the second you got popping candy in there, it's a game changer, isn't it? So
no, definitely. My mum's a big fan of Wham bars as well. This is again, we're talking about my mum on here. But she got me on the Wham bars when I was very, very young, and I've not got off them yet.
So that sounds like. Do you want to call somebody?
Yeah, I need help, Tony. To be honest.
Mate, like we've all been there, man. We've all had Astro Belt addictions, like man, bar addictions. Just like,
Oh man,
hey,
I only cost
help's
me.
here if you need it. Help is here if you need it.
Only cost me 2 fillings. I think I got off pretty light.
I think so. I think so, man.
We'll go into the sort of football sphere then, because I've seen these shirts in your background, and the club that I don't see is Aston Villa, who I know you support. I feel like maybe the sort of clarity color in the background, maybe paying homage to that. But what was your first footballing memory? Maybe not your exact first one, but the one that you saw for the first time and were like, okay, I like this.
So, probably loads of different ones actually. So, like, first live football memory would have been Sunderland.
Yeah.
Obviously, growing up there, I'd have been on in the full end, standing back in the day, like being like sort of sat on the metal bars and the terraces.
Yeah.
Smell of piss surrounding everywhere. Overall highs, people smoking, just but like in really, really cold, no matter what time of year it was, wet, damp, windy, the thud of the football. It was all just class. It was just brilliant. Like just even young, like I'm making that sound so horrific. Even young, it was just brilliant. It was just absolutely brilliant. Like going through proper turnstiles and that was awesome. I remember watching like when I was really young again, like think I remember, and I probably don't remember. Maybe it's just like a little bit of sort of your brain filling the blanks in.
Yeah.
Like I think 1986 was the first World Cup I remember. So that would have been Maradona's goal, the dribble, and obviously I remember the whole hand of God thing as well.
Yeah.
Like, but the one that I remember watching all the way through was Italia '90.
Oh. Yeah.
Watching it like on my grand's spare telly upstairs, that's black and white telly. With and again, this is me like properly trying to show my age now, right? A black and white telly had it up in my grand's bedroom. You only had the 4 channels, but you'd have to tune it all in as well. And so I remember watching that. So that was the first World Cup I watched in its entirety. Was Italia '90. I was 10, watching that. But I remember like the first time I saw it, I was properly into it. I got drawn straight in, like whether it was live, whether it was on the telly, like ATV would show football like during the afternoons. None of this like Sunday games or whatever. It would be like there'd be like Friday night football. Tranmere would be shown, and I just remember falling in love with it straight away. Just going like, yeah, this is 100% for me. And then right, like sort of was growing up in the Northeast. I probably should have been a Sunderland fan, but I especially because I went there most of my youth. I sort of tried. I went towards Villa, and I was like, I'll do something a little bit different. And then it's been a strange, probably 10 days or whatever. Where I'm now distancing myself from them.
Okay, why are you distancing yourself?
The whole Gerrard appointment? I'm not a fan of it. Like I think that it was Dean Smith really badly, and I think that the owners have been fantastic up until this point, and everything they've done, I have been fully behind. I just think that the decision to get rid of Dean Smith, and I understand on a football level, get rid of him, he wasn't doing particularly well, but I think that he was a manager, who was very, very proud to be at the club, of course, a Villa fan.
Yeah.
Made the players proud to play for the club, made the fans proud of the club. I think to get rid of him, replace him with Steven Gerrard, for me, that's not an upgrade. So I find it a really strange appointment, and I think that's the first thing they've got the ball on, and really quite big, really quite massive ball drop as well. So I sort of like looked at it and went, 41 years old, I don't really need this nonsense anymore now. Like I took a big step back a few years ago of not tweeting about football. Because there's no good comes from it. Just no good comes from tweeting about football on a Saturday, going and offering your view or your insight into the game, because it's just like football Twitter's the worst. Like
it's such a cesspool.
It's toxic, man. It's so toxic. Like you can't. There's 140 characters doesn't get your point across. Like everyone, there's no intonation, there's no sort of like context or whatever to what you're saying. So no one picks up on that. You can't have a proper conversation with it. Even if you can have a proper conversation, it's football, so people take it personally.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I just can't be bothered with that. Like, I've got bigger things to worry about in my life than football. And then, as I say, this last sort of 10 days or whatever has just sort of taken me out again. And I'm now just like, I'm not really that bothered. Like, I'll watch football, but I don't need to support a team anymore now. Like, I'm not from the area. I haven't got family connection. Like, it's not my city. It's not where I'm born.
Yeah.
Like, I've got my kids now. Like, we live in a city that isn't even anywhere where I was brought up or raised. So they've now got that decision to go. Like, if they want a football club, they can pick their local city if they want. Like, that's cool. We'll take them to the games and we'll do that. But I'm not sort of saying, oh, you have to follow my footsteps or whatever, and sort of that. So I'm sort of, well, maybe I'm just, I've sort of reached that age where I'm just like, I'll just watch football. Like, I don't need a team to follow. I'll just watch a game and see what's what, you know.
I do enjoy. I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan, so at this current state in time, I enjoy watching games that I have no affiliation to any of the teams with, just because I can actually just sit there and appreciate decent football regardless of who it is. So I get that. I get that. But do you not feel like, maybe nipping along to the local, I don't know, 8th division team or anything like that? Because I did that around about this time last year, and it was bloody good.
100%, and that again, that's part of the whole stepping away from Villa, because I got more into non-league football over the last few years. And like, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go through. Like, doing comedy, like, in different cities every single weekend. So we used to have a thing, like, me and a few comedians, we would try, if we were in the same city, we'd go and watch non-league football just for something to do during the day. So we would just go to anyone. Like, we could be in Sheffield, for example. Me and my mate went to watch Sheffield FC.
Yeah.
And like, in the match, the scoreboard they had was a physical scoreboard. You put the scores
on. Old school.
They ran out of numbers for the scores. like that's the thing we're talking about. Like, you go to like sort of teams, like a couple of mates of mine have gone like right up to the top of Scotland, like watching like Elgin and like Peterhead and things like that, or like, you go and watch Berwick or like Chorley or Curzon Ashton, like like cool little things like that. Like, go and just watch some different football, and the standards getting better as well. That's the thing. Like, I think there's still that snobbery, particularly from Premier League fans. And again, this is again part of distancing myself. The Premier League, let's face it, isn't actually that good. Really, there's like 5 teams or whatever. The rest of them are all a bit crap. Like, when Villa were in the Championship, it was so good being in the Championship. I loved it, genuinely. Like, sad to get relegated, but watching the Championship was so much more entertaining. So much more entertaining.
So much going on. You can make a good guess of the Premier League table before the season begins, and you might be 3 or 4 teams out of a bracket. Whereas in the Championship, you're looking at it, and it's like, Reading are doing bad this season, but next season they could win it.
Not even next season. Like, after Christmas, if they put a run together, they're in the playoff mix. Like, that's the thing with the Championship. Like, you could be down and out, or you win 6 games in a row and you're back in it, and that's for me, that's exciting. Like, people say in the Premier League, anyone could beat anyone. It's not really true. Like, you'll have the odd upset, but the Championship, literally anybody can beat anybody, because it's full of teams who've come down from the Premier League, so there's loads of money there. And you've got teams who are having to fall into League One, like big Premier League sides now in League One, like your Sunderlands, your Sheffield Wednesdays, like Ipswich, I think, are down there as well.
Yeah, I think Wigan are too.
So Wigan, like, Portsmouth have been down there, so it's League One's getting tough now.
So, I remember once I was because I'm from Stoke-on-Trent, and I used to live next to a park, and a team there, they called themselves Cobridge FC, played there, and they were literally just Sunday League. We went down, me and my brothers, because we were going to play football. We didn't realise there's a game on, and about 20 minutes through the first half, somebody rocks up in a really nice car. It turned out to be Ricardo Fuller, former Stoke City striker. He comes on, scores 2 goals, and then gets subbed off at halftime because he had to pick his kids up from school. Like, you can't write that.
But the thing is, like, back up home, like South Shields, again, like a sort of local non-league side, got Julio Arca. Do you remember Julio Arca
Yeah.
who used to play for Sunderland? So he stayed in the area. Like he left Sunderland, went to Middlesbrough, and then when he retired from Middlesbrough, he stayed in the area. Like his kids and that are raised there. His wife's like sort of loves living around there. And South Shields got a little bit of money and went, do you fancy turn out for us? He was only like 32 or something at the time. And he's like, yeah, why not? And he just absolutely bossed it, and he loves it. He retired last season, but he was like 38 or something.
It's
Still
mad.
playing, and it's just like, how bizarre! Like,
Yeah.
former Argentinian international playing for South Shields.
It's mad. I remember this time last year, I went to see Newcastle Town play, which is Newcastle under Lyme. They're right next to Stoke. Me and my current housemate, my brother, went to see them play, and we looked at the opposition team sheet, and there was number 8 Lita up front for the opponents, Boreham Wood.
Leroy.
And I was like, no way, that's Leroy Lita. And it bloody was. He scored a goal, but it was ruled off as offside when it shouldn't have been. But like,
amazing.
Yeah, like we were not expecting to be seeing like, that dude who played for Reading who scored that banging overhead kick. Like it's so underrated, and we only went because of the pandemic. It was the only football we could actually go and watch. And like one of the guys who we watched there is now turning out for Salford. Is it Salford City? Yeah. So I always get confused if it's Salford United or Salford City, just because they're basically Manchester United in League Two. But
this is the thing, man. I mean, like again, you mentioned there the pandemic was key. Like again, looking at the fact that the non-league was basically going under because of the pandemic, like that for me made me want to support grassroots football much more than sticking 50 quid into Villa, like because for me like that like where's that going to go? Like where's 50 quid to a billionaire, like and multi-billionaires? Like what does that mean? Like it means nothing. Like but you give 50 quid to Ursan Ashton or to Chorley, Newcastle Town there, like that literally allows the club to reopen next week.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And like that, and I might sound over dramatic, but I would rather there was still a football team there.
Yeah.
In the following year. And if me turning up and spending 15 quid, 20 quid to get in is going to help that, I'd rather do that personally, like than, go, all right, fine, let's go and stick some more money into, the Sky clubs. It's not really for me personally.
Especially when we saw what happened with like Bury, and I'm sure there's other sort of non-league teams that went under that you just don't hear about because they're not big enough.
I mean, around here, like Scarborough went under, Darlington went under. These are like they're decent, like good size clubs. Like Macclesfield obviously have gone under. Halifax, I think, went like. And you're sort of going like these are, again, without sounding too romantic, these are the teams of the communities. That need to be there. Like it's it'd be shocking to see those teams not there anymore because that's what it's all about. Like 100%. Manchester United will survive, Manchester City will survive. But find the little clubs that need your support. They're the ones, and that's what it's all about. So.
Yeah, 100%, man. It was a really good experience and something that I mean to do more. It's just finding one where I am now, really. But I guess usually I sort of ask people how they transferred Football Manager, how they first obviously were introduced to the game, and how that went into making the YouTube or the Twitch stuff that they do. But that's going to be a little bit different for you because that wasn't necessarily the route that you chose to take. So we'll start as we always do. What was the first sort of Football Manager that you got sort of hooked on, and build that up to how you became a comedian from that?
Strap yourselves in, kids. There's a long story here. So we're going to go all the way back. I would have played football management games before Champ Manager. So when the original Champ Man 93 came out, or Champ Manager 2, I suppose is probably the one as well. I would have played a load of stuff before that. Like we're talking ZX Spectrum sort of levels of soccer, like just generally probably just called the Football Manager or like Tracksuit Manager or probably like Kenny Dalglish running boots tactician talk or something stupid. Like there would have just been like loads of nonsense stuff, and it was all just like even text based games. Were just like literally, I think one Premier Manager it might have been didn't even have players' names. It was just like you would buy Wimbledon's number 4. That would just be it. Just number 4 would move to number 4 on your team, and you're going, I don't think I bought anybody. Like, fine, okay, like you say that's happened. And then when Chapman came out, that was one of the things that happened sort of when we were at school. So we'd have been 12, 13 when that came out, just moved to our Amigas and stuff. We picked it up, and it was like nothing we'd seen before, to be honest. Like, it was just out of this world, futuristic, essentially. Like, this is in color for a start. And then, like text across the bottom, like descriptions, and every player that we could ever imagined in like 5 leagues, just go, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And you know, I think it just hit the right time. Like, it caught our generation at the right time. Like, Sensible Soccer was doing great things. FIFA wasn't really a thing, particularly good at the time. Like, video games were obviously playing catch up. Premier League had just started out, so again, a lot of eyes on sort of English football at that point. And yeah, just like for me, like, as a player, I was okay. I wasn't particularly brilliant, but I always used to watch the game slightly differently to other people anyway. Like, I think, and I say to people, like, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't want to be Shearer or Gary Lineker. I was like, I wanted to be Dennis Bergkamp. Like, I was always like a little bit withdrawn, or like Matt Letizia. I would watch and go like, fucking yeah, he's amazing, Matt Letizia. Like, these players who like had a little bit more about them, Teddy Sheringham, like those sorts of like players who could just see the game and read the game differently. So even at school, when they'd put me up top in a 4-4-2, I'd drop and play sort of almost as a number 10. Much of the confusion of everybody going like, why is he get forward? I'm like, there's no point in me getting forward. Like, you're gonna. And I would say it to the PE teacher. I was going to call it the manager, the PE teacher,
the gaffer,
who'd be like, yeah, like, oh, yeah, but you get on the end of crosses. I'm like, look at me. I'm like, at the time I was like 5'7" or 5'8". Like, it's stone wet through. I was like, there's no point me going up for a header. Why not let me pick the ball when it comes to the edge of the box, and I'll just bend it in from the top corner from here. And he's like going, you'll do that. And I'm, yeah. So we practiced it. He went, as the cross came out, header came out, dropped the bottom, and I was picking it up in the top corner. I went like that. And he went, let's do that then if you want. Yeah, let's do that. Like, that's easier. That works for me. Like, so yeah, so the idea of watching, of like sort of playing this tactical game and sort of being in charge was just, yeah, it was cool as, man. So cool. And then just ended up doing it. And every year came out, there was like another sort of like, oh, mum, dad, the computer needs upgrading. Why is that? Is it because of schoolwork? Yeah, sure, why not? Just happens to tie in with the same as a new Football Manager. So let's go and buy a home PC for that. And it stood in the PC shop, and they're like, and what will you use it for? Word processing mainly. And can it play Football Manager, do you reckon? Yeah, it will do. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, so then still doing it now. 30 years on.
Fair enough. So I mean, I think the best way to go through this would be to ask about the comedy side and then bring them both together. Now, in terms of comedy, it's always weird, right? I'm watching, say, 9 out of 10 Cats, or, you know, Mock the Week, or whatever it is, with my mum, because that's the sort of stuff she watches. And then you know, you look at the sort of comedians who are there, and you kind of start to figure out, like, okay, so those two have known each other since university, and they all seem to have gone to somewhere that's sort of Oxbridgey. What's going on here? What is this? This seems to be a little bit more elitist than you'd expect. And obviously, I checked your LinkedIn before doing this. I know you didn't go to an Oxbridge uni. I won't name the one. How
I forgot I had a LinkedIn for a second.
I just thought I'd check it, like, you know, a bit of homework. So like, what is there that sort of thing in that space, and how difficult was you to sort of merge your own path into getting in there?
So in a sense, yeah, you're probably right. There is absolutely a gatekeeping, I suppose, for want of a better description. There are lots of people who know each other from way back in the day. Obviously, there is the Footlights and Tea Lights avenue, which is Cambridge and Oxford, you know, sketch groups and stuff. That is definitely the way there is. There's also a lot of hard work that goes into it. So irrespective of whether or not those opportunities are there, you've still got to be good enough in order to carry that on. So, like, yeah, there'll be some people who will sort of complain, going, "Oh, I'm not given an opportunity," blah 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 blah. Like, it's like everything. Like, everyone always says, like opportunity is, it turns up, and it turns up when you're ready for it most of the time. Like, there's no, why would you be given an opportunity you're not ready for? It doesn't make no sense. Like, the universe don't make sense like that. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, here's a chance for you to play in front of 2,000 people. Going, oh, right, brilliant. I've only done this. I've done this for like 5 months. Going, yeah, you're gonna fuck it up. Like, why would the universe do that to you? They're going to give you that when you can perform in front of 2,000 people, surely. Like, and that's how my head works anyway, right? So there is that thing. Like, for me, comedy, I kind of fell into it. Again, it becomes a running thing with most of what I do, to be honest. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, we were struggling for something to do. Back up home, we just moved back to the northeast. She's a big comedy fan as well. We were sort of looking for things to do in an evening, and open mic comedy was advertised, and it's like £2 to get in. We thought, fuck it, we'll do that Tuesday night, couple of quid in, have a couple of beers on a Tuesday, go and see some comedy and see what it's all about. We went for about 6 weeks, and some of it was good. Some of it wasn't so good. One of the guys we actually saw, really strange actually. There's a couple of sort of people who've in that space. So you talk about people knowing each other. And yeah, there is. It's a small circuit in a sense.
Yeah.
So like, guy who hosted my first show, the compare of my first ever gig, or my second gig, I think it might have been second gig, was Chris Ramsey. So me and Ramsey go all the way back from, like, we're talking 13 years now. So like, me and him got on quite well. He's now gone on to do huge things. Like, he hosted Children in Need this weekend. He's got, I guess, one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Like, he's selling out arenas for a podcast tour. This is his own tour. He's been on telly all over the place. Like, that's fantastic. And there's a guy called Sean Mclaughlin, and who was sort of like one of our first guys we met and became friends with. He's currently tour support for Ricky Gervais, which is like, again,
it's pretty big.
Like, yeah. And then there's me sat on my computer playing Football Manager. So it's, but like, it's weird, man. Like, they say you see all these guys at sort of they all start the same way, like, they all start the same way. Like, I started sort of around about the same time as Ian Sterling, Ramesh Ranganathan, Angela Barnes was a couple of years in and around. Matt Richardson was sort of in around there. Joel Dommett. Like, we all mixed in the same circles. Like, we all knew each other. We all sort of worked together, and they went on to do fantastic things, like really fantastic things. I went a slightly different direction. I was doing different stuff. Because they were better. As simple as that. They're just better at it, and I had a slightly different way of doing stuff. And then I ended up sort of like stumbling into this weird Football Manager thing, which sort of just came out of God knows where. Really, I still don't know why I thought talking about Football Manager on stage was a good idea. Try to do that in gigs that had like hen do's and stag do's and work night outs, going like, that's a tough sell. Like, to sort of like go on stage and do 5 minutes about Football Manager. So I thought, I'll just do it. I was like, it's a good bit. It's a good bit. And it was relatable enough that people got on board with it. And I was going, right, if this is working in this sort of environment, that's maybe something to work on here. And I ended up, we have to name drop at this point because he deserves the name drop. Kevin Bridges picked up on it, right? And I got asked to do a couple of bits of warm up with him. He was busy doing a new tour, and he sort of like picked me to go up and do some shows with him. I was like, yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. And so I do this bit, and like, you're in Kev's audience, right? So the entire room is there to see Kev, and you go on and you do your little bit. And I do this bit, and it does great, really great. And he comes out and he says, right, he says, there's a book getting written. He says, speak to the publishers. They're based in Glasgow. He says, speak to them. They'll put that story in. I was like, all right, cool. So support to them. That was the Football Manager Stole My Life. So that happened from there. Then I got a phone call from someone who was doing a games conference in Newcastle, and Miles was speaking at it. They got in touch and they said, look, we know about the Football Manager bit. There was Miles is speaking. Like, do you want to come down and see him speak? And I was like, all right, cool. That sounds pretty good. So I rocked up and I just sat down in this road seating, sat down, and the guy who sort of sat next to me goes like, "Oh, are you developer or whatever?" I was like, "No, no, I'm a comedian. Actually, I'm in the wrong place." He went, "You're the guy." I went, "What do you mean I'm the guy?" Right? And it turned out the guy that sat next to was the head of PR for Sports Interactive.
Really?
So yeah, so we got down. So then Miles came down, and Kieran's going like, "Oh, this is Tony." Like and Miles is like, "You're the bloke with the stand-up routine." I was like, "Yeah, I guess." Like, and he was like, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" I said, "Well, I might write this show." Like, we were talking about going to Edinburgh at this point for the Fringe. I said, "Well, I might write a show." And he's like, "Oh yeah, just do it. Like, we'll help sort of publicize it for you." I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, we hadn't thought anything about it, and then I was like, "Oh shit, now I've got to really do it." So then I was just going like, "Well, how do you write an hour's worth of stand up on Football Manager at 5 minutes?" And it took me 6 months or something to write this show.
Yeah.
By 6 months, I mean, I wrote it about 3 weeks before going to Edinburgh. Just sort of like went, this is probably it. And sort of did some sort of previews and stuff of it. And there's bits that worked and there's bits that just were not working at all. And I was like, do I go like uber nerdy on it? Do I keep it like quite safe and quite general? Like I had loads of bits of stand up in at one point. It was just a stand up show with some Football Manager bits, references just chucked around.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'm sort of shortchanging people who are going to turn up if they want Football Manager, but then what if they're not coming Football Manager? Then what do I do then? And I was like, you know what, just people turn up because it's Football Manager and that's it. We put the tickets on sale and it's sold out. And I went, that'll probably explain that one then. So we're gonna do Football Manager jokes. And yeah, it was just great, man. It was really great going to do the show and like, because no one knew who I was, and people still don't know who I am. And like going there, do your first show, you're expected to play again, like on Twitch, like you're expected to be playing to like 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, like not like a full room on your debut show. Like we went and we did it, and it was good fun. And then we finished the run, and then we went down. We did it for Sports Interactive in London, and they had like sort of their own guys there and like some sort of games journals and stuff. And we had like a few beers, a little night out afterwards, and back to eat, and that was really cool. And they were just sort of saying, "Well, what's the next plan?" I was like, "I don't know." Like, eventually a tour agent picked up on it. Again, if you're talking about sort of people who know people, it's like Mark Thomas, Robin Ince, like their tour agent picked up on it, so they picked the show up and they went, "Look, let's try and do something." Again, you're talking about people understanding football, like agents were Sheffield United and Arsenal fans, but they both loved non-league football. So again, like we were talking about non-league football all the time, so they got into it. So that was cool. So put the tour on, and again, like expectations of what was happening, but loads of places started picking it up, and little theaters and little comedy clubs, and then a slightly bigger theater and a slightly bigger comedy club, and then the football club wanted it. Then a bigger theater again, and we're like, this is really strange. Really, really strange. And then the tickets were selling for it, and I was going, this is fucking weird, man. Like, so weird. Like, turning up to Swindon, there's like 130 blokes in a room in Swindon, and I've never been to Swindon before. And then there's like people just waiting and like sort of going, okay, cool, here we go, and let's go and do the show. And to say, like, football clubs wanting to do the show was really big for us, really important. Like, we thought initially about, we still might, it was one of the questions later on about what's next, but we still might try and do more shows in non-league football clubs. So we did it at Blythe Spartans, obviously. We did it in the clubhouse there, and so that's when you watch the Football Manager documentary. That's where all the stand-up bits are recorded. So that's recorded in Blythe Spartans. We then did FC Wimbledon, did Huddersfield, we did we had Basingstoke, but then they couldn't get us in. Something had happened with the stadium, they couldn't get us in. Then Loki Doki subsequently gone and done loads of amazing work with them this year and raised like a hell of a lot of money for Basingstoke. So like shout out to Loki Doki for that. That's brilliant. And yeah, but that plan was try and go to like little non-league football clubs and you know, like a door split on them, like right, some money for you, some money for me. And we did something for Darlington. There was talk about doing stuff for Hereford. So yeah, it was just cool, man. Like really cool. Like going and just having a lot of fun. Like the only thing I not regret, but the only thing I sort of look back and go like, it would have been nice to have had a support act just to share the experience with. But because of the nature of the show, I couldn't send someone on to do straight stand up beforehand.
Yeah,
It just would have been weird. So I guess that's the only thing.
It seems like it just kind of just happened, and you're not sure how it did.
Yeah.
You just kind of took it and run with it. I mean, I think it's something that's missing, particularly even in the space now. Like if you're looking at just Football Manager content in general, you've got playthroughs and you've got tactics videos. You don't have that comedic aspect on sort of YouTube. Or at least I'm not sure if anyone's particularly doing it. So I think some of the space is missing. I think you tapped into that pretty early on as sort of the pioneer for it. How does that sound, pioneer?
I mean, I'll take it. I was very generous. I think there's been guys who have certainly done comedic stuff. Like I'd say Benji, I would say like Jack, I would say Lelujo, Zealand. Sort of, like funny stuff. I mean, I guess where we're slightly different is that, again, this is sort of something that we noticed. We did a so self-indulgent. We did a watch along of the show the weekend of FM22 coming out. So we finished our FM21 save. Right, let's not start anything else until next week. The games will come out next week, so let's just get a few cans in. We'll sit and we'll do a watch along, and so it's me, Matt from the podcast, Dupe came on, he did the whole thing. Cy Maggio dropped in, Curty dropped in. A 90-minute show. It took us 4 hours.
Jeez,
straight going through it, like taking bits apart, looking at stuff, and like going, oh, how did you come up with this bit? How that bit happened? And me going, shit, I've not watched this show in 7 years. Like, I was literally watching it again for the first time in 7 years, and those little bits that like it was Duke was saying, like things like going, You've got Football Manager 50 years in the future. He's like, that's a thing now? He goes, you were doing that 7 years ago. I was like, I suppose maybe I was doing content back then. Okay, cool. I'd not thought of that. Like, so it's just little weird things where you just don't think about it. You look at it now and you're like, yeah, everyone does 50 year in the future videos, or, what does Football Manager look like at this point? But for me, it just made sense because that's what the show was about. So you talk about what it is, and then you show the league tables of, I just say, 50 years down the line, and everyone's going, oh, where's our team? Where's our team? Whereas I say now that's just a thing. So I don't know about pioneer, but
yeah, go on then.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff a little bit different. I'm doing stuff it's not. I don't think it's that different though. I think maybe just coming out from a slightly different.
Yeah, I guess you're pointing it out there from a stand-up point of view rather than a YouTube video point of view. So you're you're taking the same things, but you're kind of putting them into a different machine.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, but I'm still playing the same game. I think in the sense that when I stream, I'm not trying to be like the other guys. Like I still come out. I guess I still come out with my own style. I suppose is kind of where we're coming from here, really. In that, presenting wise, if I say something funny, I say something funny. That's just fluke, possibly. I'm not sort of like sat. Like I certainly don't have like a sort of stand up element to the stream, and I think that was something I was quite conscious of when I started streaming. Like I didn't know whether people were gonna remember that I did stand up, or remember the show. Again, I've spoken to loads of people that go, I was going to remember this, and they go, people remember. I was like, okay, cool, that's all right. So I didn't think people were, and I didn't know whether people were going to expect the stream to be funny.
Yeah,
I mean, like, because like going, oh, this is a comedian guy, like, well, it's going to be funny, and I'm like sort of on the stream going, it's not going to be funny. Like, it's just going to be me playing Football Manager, and if it's funny, it's funny. But I'm not here to tell jokes. I'm not here to like do stand up. Like, and that was really strange. And I think that I don't know whether it was just strange for me, whether it was strange for the audience, or what, but thankfully, touch wood, we've not really had many people come in and go like, "Thought this was supposed to be funny." Like, oh, mate, it's not.
No, it's different though, because I guess that's the thing. They're two different avenues. Like Twitch is very spur of the moment, and I think that's why I enjoy it, because when I'm making jokes, I'm shit at planning one. Like I can't write a joke and then tell it to people. It has to just be off the cuff. Someone will say something, my brain will think of something, and then I'll say it, which does get a bit risky because it means you can't really give it a second thought.
In the
So
club, join the club.
well, like I'm assuming your brain must work sort of the opposite to that then, thinking about, you know, a well written joke. And I mean I've watched I watched the gig. You know, you're always, you know, relating points back to a joke you made previously, etc. etc. How difficult is it transitioning onto you are live without a script? People may not expect you to be funny all the time, but it's like, oh, Tony Jameson's a funny guy. He'll make a joke every now and then. Is there sort of a different sort of process that you go through when coming to
Um,
that?
so I guess the short answer, yes.
Mm.
I think to quantify that, so the stand-up show itself is probably one of the only things I've ever written down anywhere.
Mm.
Because even when I'm a traditional stand-up, um, my routines, my set, my jokes, I suppose, for want of a better phrase, again, I'm not a joke writer, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
So even writing stories, I'm still having to like find ways of getting funny lines in or like sort of embellish stuff, and that's like not, it's not all written word for word. Like I know the structure, I know roughly how it looks. So I know the start, I know the middle, I know the end, and you can watch me like 7 nights in a row, and I'll tell the same routine, roughly the same, but slightly differently, like
Yeah.
each night. But I host as well, so I do like a lot of MC stuff when I'm like in charge, like sort of presenting the gig essentially.
Mm.
For me, that's all improv, all improv. Like I don't, I go on with nothing in my head. So same as like Twitch, I'll just literally go like, essentially, metaphor is I'll click go live,
Yeah.
hear the music, go right, welcome to the stage, and then I'll go on and go, all right, cool, like what we got, and I'll just go 15 minutes to make this shit funny. If it's not, I've got a whole backup of material that's going to have to get pulled out pretty quickly. Um, and we'll make it look like I've made some of it up on the spot, which again is like a little behind the curtain thing that not everything is as unscripted as it looks sometimes. But yeah, just I like the idea. I like the danger almost of like
Yeah.
not having anything and going like, all right, let's see what we got. Like I've got no expectations of this. Like that I don't want to go into a room going, I'm the funniest one here, which is a really strange mentality to have as a comedian. Like I want to go in the room and go like, there'll be something funny. We'll find something funny in here that I've not even considered. Like, and some of the stuff you get is genuinely amazing. Like some of
Yeah.
the responses you get are incredible. We've got one in the show. Um, we talked to a guy and a standard sort of like conversation and my comedy stuff. What's your name? Where do you come from? What do you do for a living? Right. Easy little segues into jokes. I said this one guy, what do you do for a living? He goes, I'm the Ajax manager. Like brilliant. In that space, that's the answer I want because that's funnier than what I've got in my head.
Yeah.
Like, so now I've got something I can run with. So we've got something that's very much in that moment that's never going to be repeated again.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes the funniest part of the show because everyone in the room knows I haven't organized that. Like, so the next night's gig, don't get that moment, right?
Yeah.
So that's the joy, that's the beauty, and then Twitch is the same. Like man, just like hitting go live and going right. Let's just see what we've got, and yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy that. The show in terms of getting the structure. Again, to go back to your point there, there's the structure of getting everything linked. Yeah, that's going through with a fine tooth comb and finding other little jokes and other little links and
Yeah.
going like wringing as much as you can out of like specific stuff. But that's just like being aware of what you've written down, or like going back to going, there's something else, there's another funny line here, and even like having a joke the joke's never finished is what they always say in comedy. The joke's never finished. You can go back to routine. I can go back to that show right now, write 5 new jokes in it, find funnier gags for each of the things that are in there already that are funny anyway, but I could write a funnier topper
Yeah.
now, and like so there's always that going back and looking and going, oh shit, that is the same thing that goes back to there. And thinking all the callbacks. It's like, yeah, it looks great. Like when it's done properly, it looks
Yeah.
fantastic, and like it's just a nice little thing for the audience to be like, oh god, yeah, he said that earlier.
Yeah,
Like,
because you forget when you're in the moment, and then
yeah,
the
of course, of
callback,
course.
it's yeah, it's definitely. But I want to know how difficult it is because you alluded earlier on. You made FM sort of related jokes to just general crowds, and that sounds risky to me because I know I've seen it obviously in the show that I'm hoping everyone's seen. I've definitely seen it. You're calling out sort of really really good wonder kids who turned out to be shit, etc etc, and you're picking on these gems that only people who've played these games will know. Obviously you're doing that into a crowd who's maybe not as seasoned in FM, hasn't been playing it for years, or has never played the game. They will not know, they will not care about Taribo West sort of thing.
Oh, so the stuff that would have been done in generic comedy clubs
Mm,
was the Blythe Spartan story.
okay.
That's the bit that was in Blythe Spartans in normal comedy clubs. So I took that as kind of a. How was I used to set it up? I used to set it up as worrying about achieving something. And it was like so like crowbarred in about like sort of my biggest achievement or something in the world. But for what maybe that was how I got into it. And I'd talk again, like talk to an audience member, like sort of like, like what do you do? Like what's your biggest achievement in life, sort of thing. And like then I'd weave in this story about my biggest achievement was 35 years on Football Manager, taking Blythe Spartans to the Champions League, and because Football Manager obviously is in popular culture, got the reference, and then people understood the stupidity of, well, actually no, so there was a split. There's a split. So
Yeah.
some people thought, who obviously played the game, were like, fucking well played, lad. That's good work, right? And then there was other people going, he's a fucking idiot, this guy. And then you get partners going, that's your game. You're like that. You're like him, right? So that's kind of how it helped bridge that weekend audience.
Yeah.
Like, and again, sort of trying to make it relatable by going, look, it's not just Football Manager. You'll get people playing Call of Duty, or you'll get people playing FIFA, and again, you'll sort of see the penny drop in people's heads, going, I know the context he's going with now. Whatever he says, I'm on board. I know where it'll go. Then, of course, I took the absurdity level up to applying for the job, and then having the email, and that's just the ridiculous, the ridiculous level. And at that point, like once that had happened, then people were like, yeah, he's just an idiot. Like so. Yeah. So that was fine. But yeah, going on stage and talking about Taribo West and like Freddie Adu and Stefan Selakovic, I don't think people wouldn't have really got on board with that. But yeah, we got away with the Spartans thing, and then as I say, that's then expanded for the show. But yeah, that's where it all came down from, man. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's like, oh, you'd have to be quite select because there are elements that people will get like, okay, this guy's greatest achievement is literally sitting on his room on his own playing a game that doesn't matter. Now that's funny, but then incorporating everything else, and I guess you don't need to have that much of a baseline understanding to understand that this guy's just playing a game and he's trying to apply it to real life. Was that email legit? I wondered that from the get go. Was that a real email you received?
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw. I retweeted it this week actually because they've just their manager who again weird turn events, weird links that. So the Spartans manager Michael Nelson was the centre back in our school team. So I know Michael from school. So like. And he's had a great career. He's been at like Norwich, he's been at Livingston, he's at Colchester, I think. And he went to Spartans, and I was like, that's awesome! Like, great that he's managed to get home, take his family home, and that. And then he's obviously he's just left this week.
Yeah.
And Spartans posted out saying, we're welcoming applications, not anything to do with Football Manager achievements. And I'd sort of like repost it and just went, see, because of me, there's a warning. Like,
sorry, lads. But nah, that's mad. I guess still having the effect now. I mean, it's so mad. I to be honest, I heard about you previously. Like, have you seen Tony Jameson's show? And I was like, honestly, like, what can a guy do with Football Manager? It's just spreadsheets. So I mean, like, it was genuinely funny. I'm not just saying that because you're here. I really enjoyed it. Before the playoffs weekend, I was like, Tony's on the panel. He's on the play-by-plays. I might as well watch this. Just see what he's doing. Because I also noticed you were one of the AI managers when you do a fantasy draft, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I feel like I need to watch this guy. It was genuinely like I really enjoyed it, but obviously you're starting as a comedian. You're not going to be sort of at this stage where you're ready to do a show like that on such a nuanced and niche topic, and with the level of detail the audience would have already had to know in order to understand it. I mean, when you were like starting out, what's have you ever just really flopped really hard on stage and it just hasn't worked out for you? Because it happens on Twitch all the time, right? People get demotivated that way, but it's okay because you can just turn off the camera. You can't.
Imagine having a really shit stream, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then having to drive 6 hours back home. Imagine that. Right? Okay. Imagine you've not got any subs that night, right? So maybe you're doing like your first stream, you're driving 6 hours, you get really excited, you get a little opportunity, jokes aren't going to work, and you've got to drive back all that way.
What's it like when you're on stage? Like what sort of when they're not when they're not hitting?
Worse, man. But you know what? Like you can't have the euphoria without that. Like you've got to have it. You've got to experience like that level of borderline hatred in some nights. I've been on stage and the audience have hated me, and you just had to like battle through it, like Christmas shows or whatever. Like just horrible stuff. Like getting booed to the microphone. Like people just chanting "get off" and just like sitting there going, I have to stay because if I don't do my time I don't get paid and you fuckers aren't winning. Like, just like I'll stand for 20 minutes not being funny, and because I need that paycheck, right? That's what we'll do. And there's some nights you have to just sit and go, we're going to call this a really bad defeat for me. Like you've won. But there's nights where you can turn around, like you go on stage and it's going really badly, and something happens and it turns around, and that's brilliant. But yeah, like it's just, for me, going on stage in the first instance wasn't scary. Like I was a lecturer, I was used to talking in front of people. Get on stage didn't bother me. Like I didn't have to get over that fear. I didn't have to get over the fear of not being funny, because whether arrogantly or not, I knew I was funny. I'm funny in conversation. Like I know what makes people laugh, and I know how to create stories and write. I didn't know how to be a comedian. That was a completely different skill I had to learn. I had to learn how to be funny on stage, and then I had to learn how to improvise, and then I had to learn how to was funny and relatable. But I mean, that's all practice. You learn that very quickly on stage. Some people are very rigid and they've got their set, and it's like joke, and they can't deviate from it. I was always very loose and sort of going, well, if they don't go with that, then I've got X, Y, and Z behind me that might help. You can always move things around. But there's some nights when it doesn't matter what you've got in your arsenal, the audience just aren't on your side, and you just go, yeah, fine, we're gonna get a defeat here and just go for it. And it's just part and parcel. The way I just look at it, go, like, everyone has a shit day at work. You know what I mean? Like everyone has a shit day at work, 100%. And there's nights when you go to gigs and you go, like, you look around, you go, this is not happening tonight, and you're already working out who you're going to ring in the car on the way home to go, you're not going to believe tonight's show.
But what's the worst thing that anyone ever shouted at you that you're allowed to obviously say?
See, this is a weird one, right? Because again, maybe this is me sort of being a bit of a status symbol here. Don't think any heckle's any good. Like, there's no, I know whoever told people that heckling is fun, and that comedians want it is just, we want to see that person burn in hell. So like anything that's shouted out is just a bit shit. It very rarely helps the show. So people have shouted, you're shit, and you go, yeah, probably, because most of the time, like, I will concede, when that's been shouted, there's a high chance I probably have been a bit shit that night. Like, but I can only say that looking back now. At the time, I have to go, oh, that's not true. Like, and I have to sort of almost come back and work out, well, right, I've got to do something now, and I can't just swear at them. The whole point for me now is going, right, let's flip this on its head, and you then have to go alpha.
Yeah.
And essentially all you've got at that point is belittling, and you need to, and it's such a tricky skill to do. And again, like, the more you do it, the more you learn. Like, there's some shows, like some very famous shows of venues you go on, and you know you're going to be up against it from the get-go, and you just got to nip them straight out. And again, looking like I do at the time, even now, like, so people look, yeah, we can probably, bring him down a touch or whatever, and you go like, nah, I'm not, no, this is my house, like, I'm in charge right now, stamp authority on the gig. We had one gig, it was in Liverpool, and it was famous, Baby Blue it was called, and I don't think it's around anymore now, but it was like, when it was brilliant, it was horrible, it was fucking awful, right? And every comedian's been there and they've done it, and it's just stags and hens, right? And I went on stage. This one night, it was they had like these big long tables either side of the stage, and I'm compere, so I'm hosting the show, right? And there was like a hen do here, about like 10, 12 ladies or whatever. Hen do here, 10, 12 ladies right at the front, and the organisers going, we've had to put them at the front. There's nowhere else for them to go. There'll be too much of a distraction. They've got to go at the front. And I was like, fine, no worries. Like, because they're right. If they put them at the back, they're just gonna talk, and they're gonna ruin the gig. Like, because they're too far away. So they went, we have to put them at the front. You've got to deal with it. Like, you've got to make the gig playable. I was like, all right, cool. Went on the stage, like, all right, now we get on, blah, blah, blah. I've got two hen do's at the front, right? Free range, battery farmed. Let's go, right? And just took them straight out. They didn't have a second to work out what was going on. I was like, right, the whole venue just erupts, and I'm like, right, now we're gonna have it.
Just get in there before they can even say a word.
Sometimes it's that, man. So just disarm them straight away. Like, thankfully, I don't think I've had anything thrown at me, but
at least it's not here.
It's one of them, close a couple of times.
In that situation, it's just kind of lose for you, isn't it? Because either the heckler wins, and all of a sudden, like, that's not very good, and everyone else is probably thinking, yeah, what a shit comedian. But if you then stamp them out, then you're a bit of a dick.
This is the thing, like, because you've got, like, and you know what? This is going to sound wrong. Men are easier to deal with, right? Because, like, you can just keep going, and all they'll do, they'll just get aggressive, and their mates will just talk them down, be like, look, just leave it, right?
Yeah.
They'll maybe come and work with you at the break or whatever, right? But deal with, like, drunk women, like hen do's, as I say. That's why they had to be at the front, because if they're at the back, they'll just do their thing.
Yeah.
If friends get very protective of the person straight away, so you're not just dealing with the person who's heckled, you're dealing with all their mates as well. You're going, like, the situation just got so much worse right now, like. But it's just, it is what it is at the end of the day. You get some people shout something out. If you shout something back, the problem is if you belittle somebody back, as a guy who fancies his chances and goes, oh yeah, this will be funny in front of his mates, and you make him look like a dick in front of his mates. He's had a couple of beers inside. He might be like, oh, that's not how it works. And then he goes again, and you're like going, oh no, this is just like, it comes like,
giving security the eyes, like, please.
As you say, it's a lose-lose situation. It's a lose-lose.
No, it's mad. So obviously you seem like you've been on the scene for a while. Who and sort of you've come along with, whether you've done a show with them or just been in sort of similar venues as at the time, who would you sort of bill as the best comedians you've worked with, from both a personal perspective and in terms of nation or world renowned perspective?
Best, hands down, is Kev. Kev is the absolute master. I've not seen a guy work as well as he has. Just picks the topic superbly. He's got every single bag going, and he's just master. So, like, you could put him in any single room anywhere in the world. You could take away Kevin Bridges, the name, right? He would just destroy that gig, because he's just funny. He's just funny, like, and added to the fact he's a top bloke as well, like
Yeah.
a really, really lovely guy. Like he couldn't be any nicer. Genuinely, I think he is absolute top tier. Like you're talking about Hall of Fame, stick him in there right now.
Yeah.
Like he's good to go. Sarah Millican, again, absolutely the same. Like, one of the most lovely people on the planet. Insanely good comedian. Insanely good. We booked her to run a gig above a pub in Newcastle, 100 seats,
Yeah.
and booked her to do a preview of an Edinburgh show. It sold out in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like, we turned up and she just obliterated it, absolutely obliterated it. And her husband, Barry Delaney, he's one-liners. So again, you're talking, this is not Sarah's crowd he's got to win over.
Yeah.
This was just as Sarah had started doing Live at the Apollo, was just getting really big with TV stuff. So he went on stage. They weren't married at the time. He went on stage and he destroyed the gig as well. Like he literally, like I've not seen it again. Just one liner, and again, just like so good, so good. So yeah, they would be my picks, I think, for people that I've seen. They're big. So it's strange, man. There's like people who you'd sort of look at and go, no way they're gonna get huge, but then they get huge, and you're sort of going, oh, cool, yeah, they did get huge actually as well.
Does it? I mean, do you think there's anything down to sort of their evolution as a comedian that helps them get to that, or do you think it's just sort of you keep throwing and at some point it will stick?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a little bit of that. I think there's got to be a point where you believe in your own stuff and go like, this is the direction I'm going with. I'd say guys like Adam Rowe at the minute are very much like that. He sort of very much decided what he wants to do. Didn't want to be pigeonholed and bottlenecked into being a certain style of comedian. He's now, he's got 7,000 Patreons on his podcast. Very much picked his own style and went with it. He's doing Live at the Apollo this week. Scott Bennett has just done Live at the Apollo this week as well. He was tweeted out during the pandemic, there's a guy doing stand-up comedy in his shed. Make sure you watch him. Fast forward 18 months later, he was on Live at the Apollo.
It's mad.
I mean, like, and he was smashing gigs left, right, and centre before that. Fern Brady, ridiculously funny. Jess Fostergue, ridiculously funny. The circuits. There's a lot of fantastic comics on the circuit, and the thing is, because comedy is so subjective, I find funny, you might not find funny.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Like Tom Allen, I love Tom Allen a bit. He's so good.
Nah, I mean, it seems there's a lot going on in the space, man. What about for you in terms of have you got any plans for anything coming up particularly?
Not immediate. We'll get back to the circuit at some point. Like I know we've had 2 years off. That time we've started a family. So myself and my wife have got 2 little boys. We've got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. So that sort of takes up quite a bit of our time at the minute. So again, there's like little things going. It just becomes a bit more tricky. So looking at sort of traveling to Brighton or whatever for a gig, like now is no longer the hotel, right? Me and the wife will go down, we'll have a weekend away, we'll come back home. Now it's like, right, you can't really do that now because it's like taking 2 kids, or I can't drive all the way down and leave my wife with 2 kids to have to look after. So we need to try and balance that a little bit. So doing things like streaming on an evening is just handier. Like, yes, fine, I'm probably online till about the same time as I would be getting home, sometimes maybe a little bit earlier. But at least if it kicks off, they're next door. Like I can go and deal with it there. And then, like, it's been nights when they've been sat on my knee streaming. So it's just it just makes it a bit easier. Like we'll get back to it at some point, but I don't know in what way, shape, or form. But we've been talking about nearly coming up to 10 years for the Football Manager stand-up stuff. So maybe we best start getting a plan for that put together.
I think so. I think you're looking at how the sort of length of time has been before that show sort of came out, and looking at the scene now, I think it's grown exponentially since then. And I think obviously we'll talk about the draft competitions as well. You're getting yourself out there a bit more in front of people. I mean, you've been on the playoffs play-by-plays when a certain somebody won. You've competed with yourself. You're establishing yourself in that space. Is that part of that plan? Like, make a core audience on another platform to then cross over into that realm.
I think you have to do that nowadays.
Yeah.
I think like so all this again, potentially slightly by design, slightly by sort of just chance and opportunity, really. When the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
Matt and myself got back in touch with each other. We've been mates for a while. Matt came to see the show at the Lowry in Manchester years ago, introduced to me by a mutual friend of ours, and we've sort of been in contact pretty regularly between then and up to this point. And he was sort of saying, look, maybe I'm thinking about starting a podcast. And I was like, yeah, I could do a podcast. I've not done a podcast for a while. Let's do a podcast. And he's like, should do a football manager thing. I was like, that sounds cool. Let's do it. So we sort of chatted about it with the idea, and then eventually football manager therapy was born, and started doing that. And I was like, sort of looking, going, right, there's no gigs. Everything's obviously shut down. We're in full lockdown. What can we do? And another comedian mate of mine, Rob Mulholland, he'd started doing Twitch. He started doing YouTube, and like a few comics had started to really get their online presence going.
Yeah.
Using the pandemic to their advantage. We mentioned Raw. Mark Nelson, again, another comedian, was doing a lot of work for the Stand in Scotland, or bits for BBC, like doing online gigs. And I was looking at online gigs, going, I don't fancy online gigs. John Robertson was doing brilliant stuff pre-pandemic anyway, and then it really ramped up. So James Cook was doing like board games online with like other comedians as well, which again was really, really cool. So I was like, maybe I can just do something different. Maybe now's the time to do gaming stuff. And I saw loads of people down on Twitch, and I didn't have a computer that was capable of Twitch. I had a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe I'll do YouTube. So I thought, right, I'll do some YouTube stuff. And I bought a webcam and a hard drive. Started making some little YouTube content. It wasn't very good. Looking back, it's not great, right? Even as a master's degree in film production, it was pretty shit. Because I didn't watch YouTube. Like, I still don't really watch YouTube. Like, it's not my audience. It's not my thing. I knew what I was making because I'd watched like Binge stuff. I'd watched Jack's stuff. I'd watched Lujo's stuff. Second Yellow Card. I'd watched things like that anyway. Zealand. So I sort of knew what content looked like.
Yeah.
And I knew sort of in my head what I would want my stuff to look like. So I sort of made things and put it out. And so Matt and I started to do some bits of sort of challenges and stuff throughout the podcast. And I was going like making videos, Scandinavia challenge, and then what's it like March time, I think. And I was like, I fancy streaming. I started pricing up like computers and stuff and desktops and that. And my wife's driving instructor was getting rid of his second PC. He says, look, don't buy a computer just yet. Try this. If you like it, we'll work something out. So I'm all hooked up in that. And it worked. I was like, right, cool, it works. Let's try it. And it was for it was just for getting up and running. So, right, let's do it. Started streaming and loved it. Absolutely loved it from day one. I was like, right, this is me, right?
Yeah.
And it was strange though, because I wasn't expecting anyone to be there. Like, I know that Twitch is like the fringe. Like, say the average, if you've got 3 people in your stream, you're in like the top 1% or something.
Yeah.
Like people viewing, and then like I think I logged on, I had like 20. And I was like, oh, that's quite cool. Like, that's pretty decent,
Oh, so you had that sort of double figure from the get go.
I had numbers from the start. Like, and this is what I was going. And in my head, I was like, this is weird. Like, why are people like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. Like, just. And I was talking to like Maggio about it, and he was like, people remember you from the show. And I was like, oh. And I was talking to Duke from 5 Star, and he's like, yeah, like, you can log on and there'll be people will be able to be, oh fuck, I recognize that name. Like, and I'm like, oh, surely not. So all that stuff, I was like, shit, I'm having to learn how to do this shit in front of people. Like, I was kind of hoping I'd get like the little like under the radar bit. No one's gonna like see it. And I was like, how do you do? It was just fun, but it gave me the confidence to do it, because I was like, right, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to go on to a live, interact with people, which is what I'd built up in my head as going, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because that was actually able to happen, I was like, oh cool, I'll learn how to do it, because I always thought YouTube was a bit like, oh, hello, I'm Tony Jameson, I'm going to talk about Football Manager for a little bit, thank you very much. As Twitch is just like, right, here we go, let's have a conversation and we'll see where it goes, sort of thing. So
let's get sacked from Sunderland.
yeah, exactly. And again, I remember I had a conversation with Ben, and he won't mind me saying this. So he said, "Oh, so how are you finding the streaming?" I said, it's good. I said, I think I'm finding my niche. I'm not very good at the game. And he went, perfect. He said, brilliant.
Yeah.
He says, because there's loads of people will just go on and win. He says, but if you could be the guy who goes on and loses, he goes like,
it's bad content, isn't it? Like, you can always go on that guy who's winning every game, but you know, that one guy who's just losing everything, having a good time, maybe getting a bit pissed off, so all of his chat can be like, haha, look at this fucking idiot. Like, that's what you want.
It's like, I mean, again, like you say about the playoffs, like my record is the worst. Like I'm like in FM21, I was the worst playoff drafter. And you know, and fair play to Mozza for picking me and thinking, oh, this will be funny. And he was right. It was funny. But again, I said on the time, going, you've got two options. You've got two options when you're doing drafting. You can either win or be really entertaining. Guess which one I picked.
I mean, we all know you didn't win, so
exactly. So you might as well, like, if you're not going to win, you might as well try and get as many eyes on the product as you can. Yeah. So I thought, well, I suppose my skill set lies in, you know, making fun of things that are a bit rubbish, and you know, it's a running thing in my stream again. Like, you know, whoever logs in. Have you been sacked yet? Like, Mozza commented the other night going, do people genuinely just turn up your stream and ask you getting sacked? I was like, yeah, every single night. Is he sacked yet? Like, I've been sacked once on FM 22, sorry, and that was in the beta, so that doesn't even count.
Yeah, no, we're just getting used to the game at that point.
At time of recording, I should say, by the way, only sacked once. If you listen to this next week, possibly twice.
I mean, this should be going out on Friday. So fingers crossed you can hold up for 4 days.
Can't guarantee
it. So, I mean, you've mentioned a few guys in the space. You know, you brought up Sam Maggi and Mozza Dupe. Who do you see as your go-to guys? Because I think it's important to have people in the space who you can kind of bounce off. Maybe not necessarily work with, although work with is also helps, but you know, guys who you can shoot ideas with, you know, and just have them as like sort of a pillar to lean on when you need it.
You know what? Everyone, and this is not blowing smoke, literally everyone I've spoken to has been super lovely, genuinely. Like I've not come across anyone who hasn't been willing to help or offer a bit of advice, and that's really cool. Coming as an outsider to the space, like to the community, like Dupe helped so much in the first instance. Like I remember when I did the 5-star podcast, we spoke afterwards. Him, Eve, Curtie, Friday Night Nerd, and Dupe was like, "Why are you fucking about YouTube, man? Like you need to be streaming." I was like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You need to do. He says, you need to stream." It's like, YouTube's not your thing. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, no, whatever. Like, you know, 6 months down the line, I'm like, going, dude, about this Twitch thing. He's like, yeah, right. Okay, now you right. So then he helped talk me through it, and Maggio's been great for tech stuff, as has Dupe. Mozza's just again one of the loveliest guys in the world. Like, gave me my playoffs opportunity. Who's great, which again, like, because things like that, like, I don't think anything like that's even a thing. Like, I'm just sat doing my streams and like losing. I've not looked at things like the playoffs and showdowns and things like that, and like with any sort of like aspiration to be on them, just sort of watch them and respected them and viewed them and sort of like went, wow, that's brilliant. Like, you know, that people are doing that sort of stuff. And then Mozza got in touch with me, do you want to do the playoffs? And I was just like, yeah, okay, that sounds fun. Let's do that. Like, and then did appallingly. I was like, oh, that's not quite gone the way that any of us would have hoped for.
Not ideal.
And then like to be offered to do the play-by-play, I was like, shit, that's pretty cool as well. And like, it's just nice, man. This is really nice. I'd say just looking at the sort of people who I talk to regularly, like JD.
Mm.
Again, started out about the same time as I did. He's top drawer. Stinger's great.
Seems great.
RDF, man, like RDF Tactics. I love that boy a bit.
Such
Like
a lovely guy as well.
so good, and his tactic, his content, so different from everyone else's.
Yeah.
And again, like just I watch that stuff as a fan anyway. Like
Yeah.
and then to sort of like now have him sort of in my corner, I guess, if I want to run a video idea past him, or sort of go, does that look right? Like, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, I'll try this sort of way of doing stuff. And like there'll be so many people who are like, I also go, yeah, I should really mention them or whatever. Like, but to say, just anyone I've spoken to, it's just been really, really helpful. Like Sweet Left Foot has been again beautiful days. Like Curty, like yeah, literally, I could just go through. I could load up my Twitch or my Discord now, and I could go through every single person who I've sent a message to. They've all got back to me. Like even the big guys, they've all the big guys, like they've all got back to me, and they've all given me advice or have given me a bit of time or said, look, you know what, get back in touch when you've done X, Y, and Z. Like first starting out, like I did what everyone else did. I messaged everyone going, oh, can you check my video? Let me know what it's about. And then you watch like Lujo and Ben doing their sort of content clinic, and it's like, come back to us when you've done 100 videos. And I was going, oh shit, I think I did that. Like I think I did that. Keep my head down now, like because yeah, it's shit. You knew first videos are shit, but you're excited, and you don't want it to be shit.
No,
but it's the time when you've almost got more eyes on you.
Yeah.
It's really counterproductive to sort of be like starting out really. But yeah, it's just been good, man. I say like literally everyone's been great. Demand More as well. Demand More needs a shout out. He's a top bloke as well.
It seems like you're quite popular in the scene, mate. You got a lot of friends.
Maybe, yeah. I guess. As I said, just everyone's been really nice. Everyone's really nice. Like and like my mods, I've got to say my mods have been amazing throughout the whole thing because I don't know them. I didn't know them pre-pandemic. Like
yeah, literally.
Genuinely, these have been like people that have either been fans of the podcast or have been fans of stream or helping with the Discord. They've said, look, can I help out? Can I help out? And they've been true to their word and they've done everything they need to do. I speak to them every single day. Every single day, I speak to at least one of my mods about anything. It could be about the stream. It could be about general life. It's just amazing to think that this has happened off the back of a pandemic, and we're hanging out with people that maybe never have met beforehand.
Oh, yeah, man.
Now these guys are like, they're in my squad. Like this is like us. We're a team now, and I always say the stream is a team. It's not just
honestly.
me. Yeah. Like everyone, they make that happen. They do all the shit that nobody sees. That just means that I can sit and bash buttons and let stuff go through. So yeah, like they look after me. So yeah, shout out to my mods there. They're awesome.
It's mad how it spirals as well. Like just Wasted Possession as the example. Like I was new to streaming. All of a sudden I get a raid from a guy called Olney. He doesn't stream anymore. But Stick Piano was part of that raid. Next thing you know, Stick Piano's modding for me. Next thing you know, I find out he lives in America. Next thing you know, we start Wasted Possession. Like
well again, like
where else can that happen?
Interesting things like so we've got so in our sort of like network, it's probably the best way of describing what we've got. I think it's a network. We've got a guy called Rich Owens who's like he's a new comedian, so would end up in my space anyway. He knew Matt sort of before the pandemic. He then followed the podcast. He got onto the top of the stream, and he's now started streaming himself. So we kind of like, I keep an eye out there, going like, all right, try this, like tweak that, like do this sort of thing. Then when I couldn't make the playoffs, I ended up taking my littlest one to hospital. I couldn't make the playoffs. I rang Si and Moz and I went, look, I said, I need to go to hospital. I said, Rich is ready to go. I said, can you put Rich in? Rich will back up for me just for today. He's going to be the backup. And they were like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no worries. So I rang Rich to him and, yeah, you need to get on the computer now because you're streaming. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, like it's going to do it. Just go, just get it sorted out. So that's been great to sort of like be part of like learning with everyone else. And then Dave Goodger came to see me do stand up, like what, 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Like he was a fan of a podcast I used to do with another couple of comedians, Jim and Kay. We did a podcast about kids' TV shows. He was a huge fan of that. It was such a funny podcast as well.
I can imagine.
He then came to see me do stand up with Danny, who we did Monday Night Football with. And then he came to another show, and then when we started doing the podcast and the streams again, he got on there, and now he's streaming himself. So like that for me is mint to sort of see these guys doing that, and then we all sort of jump in on each other's streams and like help out. And as I say, it's nice to sort of be able to grow everyone together, you know.
Yeah, it's weird. Everyone seems to want to help a lot more than anyone would in any other field I've ever been in. And at first you think, what do you want out of this? But no one ever, usually nobody wants anything. Like you say you have your mods, saying how can I help. Like 99% of them will never then say I helped you with this, I want you to do this now, sort of thing. Like everyone seems to be so given, which I don't know, is that rarer than I think it is?
It's very rare. It's very rare.
Like
yeah,
I in my head I'm like, that's so weird and rare, but I don't know, everyone in FM seems to have the same experience, which I think is really good.
I think so, and but I think there's still a lot of people would say the opposite. Just for balance, I think that there'd be some people would say the absolute opposite, and maybe wouldn't feel as though there is help and support there. But from my perspective, I would say that I've only seen when I've asked for help, I've been able to get help.
Yeah.
And what I would say to anyone who's watching this who maybe is unsure, can they have help? Fire a message, and if they don't get back to you, they don't get back to you. But I would say definitely ask people in the first instance, and I found the space really helpful. So like certainly ask, and if you don't get anywhere, or you don't feel as though you're being met well or whatever, then yeah, speak up.
100%. I didn't think things like, obviously, like when RDF this tweet went everywhere. I think that was a really good eye opener, especially like me. Like I'm not a white person, but I didn't even click what was happening, and I think all it needed was dialogue in that situation. That's just one example of just set the dialogue going.
Absolutely. And and from like, and we'd had RDF on the podcast weeks before, maybe, or was it just after? I think it was a couple weeks before, and we were talking about it, and like again, like it sounds really strange because I never gave it a second thought, because like in my head I'm like, whenever I raid, I always look for as wide a variety of streamers as I possibly can. Like I never always choose the white guy. Like I go for whatever I can get. Like I will be sitting there going, right, what is something that I think people might not have gone to see before? Let's get as many different eyes on as many different people as we can. So for me, I was like, oh shit, that's horrible that you've had to experience that. So when he said it, I was like, right, yeah, fucking too right, yeah, let's call it out. Let's, we need everyone to be better here. And again, that's I back RDF for 100% when that happened. So it was it's hopefully it's improving. Hopefully, I know it's going to be that's a long road.
Yeah, there's nothing like that will change overnight. It's gonna take people sort of setting a precedent and then everybody else sticking to that precedent. But you can get there.
Yeah, of course you can. But yeah, as I say, that's one of those things. Like, so we look, as I say, is it tokenism? I hope it's not. I hope it doesn't come across as tokenism. But
yeah,
as I say, at the end of every stream, we're constantly looking for as wide a variety as we can to raid into. So we'll try and do our little bit. Essentially, is what I'm saying. So,
and if everyone does a little bit, then that turns into a lot, which is what we definitely need now. We're heading into that 1 hour and a half mark. Usually, we start winding things down. Is there anything else that's on your mind that you want to go over?
I'm happy to do whatever, man. You run. You're in charge. You know, you're at the wheel. So
I am.
I just sat down and looked at the clock there and went, oh shit, we have been talking for a while. Yeah.
No, I thought we'd only been 20 minutes. I'm not gonna lie.
But it's been fun, man. It's been nice. It's just
Nah,
been
I
nice to
enjoy
sort of
it.
just chat and get some things out. So
it's good talking to a lot of other people in the community because, like, you get more of an understanding, and I hope that's what this sort of thing brings, like understanding, and you know, because people often with you it's slightly different because people know what you are behind the streaming because you have the comedian side. That's not generally the case with a lot of creators, so I hope it does give some form of eye opener to that sort of thing. But again, I mean, you've mentioned your podcast a few times on this one. We'll allow you to mention it here. What
so
give us a run
plug it in.
Yeah.
got this podcast. He's mentioned that fucking podcast again, hasn't he? Just like
I'm gonna have to stop you there, Chief. Remember where you are now. Tell us a bit about it because I think there'll be people who are watching who don't haven't come across it before.
So we do a podcast, myself and Matt Richards, called Football Manager Therapy, which is basically just, as you'd expect, two football manager addicts talking about where we are really. And the name's not necessarily talk about football manager addiction, but it was more because of the fact that we started the podcast during the pandemic. We were both very much in a place mentally, our mental health, that we were using Football Manager as a way of dealing with the pandemic.
Yeah.
So Football Manager was our therapy at that point, and we both sort of like massive advocates of mental health. We talk a lot about that on our podcast. Of course, we've got the suicide prevention shirt. We've got mental health here in our Discord. Like we're very open about it, about our struggles. And when we both sort of said, I think it was maybe Matt had said it out loud first, and we went, that's the name right there. And you know, again, that's evolved throughout the last sort of 18, 20 months we've been doing it. 18 months, I think it is probably just about, and it's just us. It's just us. We very rarely have guests, but when we do, they're very deliberately picked guests.
Yeah.
As well, I think. So we've had Johnny Sharples who's come on again talking mental health, and Avika Strock, the story behind his new gen. We've had Scoobius Pip, which again's been awesome. We've had Tina, who's in charge of women's football at Sports Interactive and getting women's football into Football Manager. That was a huge one for us. We were delighted to get that conversation going because again, that's something that we're going to be actively looking at talking about as and when that announcement gets made as to women's football being in Football Manager.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get ahead of the curve on that and really sort of help promote that. Obviously, we had RDF on as well. So yeah, it's just been nice to conversations going and not sort of. I think again, it's another voice in the space. We're not doing what 5 Star do. We've got great friends of ours and have a wonderful podcast as well.
Yeah,
yourselves, you know, doing fantastic work as well. So yeah, it's just another nice little thing to be in the space, I think. So fun.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I'll leave the links in the description below for everybody to have a click. Is it on YouTube, Spotify? With
Spotify, yeah. We haven't got around to YouTube yet. We might start to do it, but yeah, Matt's only just got a gaming laptop, so
he's playing catch up
a little bit. Yeah,
nah, definitely. There's some good programs you can use nowadays as well. I know I'm saying that whilst we're on Discord, but you know, definitely. Well, I think I've run through my questions, man. So unless there's anything you want to talk about, I think we can wrap this bad boy.
Yeah, cool, man. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Nah, and again, thanks for coming on. Really, really good insight and something a bit different for me, talking about predominantly about FM in a different sort of context in terms of, you know, a content medium. It's been really insightful. Again, thank you for coming on, Tony.
Oh, mate, thanks for having me, man. Genuinely enjoyed it. And, who knows? I'm sure I'll get to call another victory at some point very soon. So, it's not to have one myself. I'll call one. Call one.
Just make sure you're involved in the next playoffs, mate, because I plan on winning that one too.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
Until then, though, thank you guys very much for watching. Thanks again for Tony for coming on. It's been a really good podcast. I hope everyone's enjoyed it, and I shall see you next week for a brand new episode with a brand new guest. Until then, see you later.